Rikka. You guys might be like, why is that even on here? I'm actually gonna sneak them up here in a tier 2. Let's just call it a hunch, I think. What's going on, guys, and welcome back. So I don't mean to say I told you so, but a little over a month ago we said watch out for Rikka. They just won Euros. Just saying, we called their uprise, if you will. But today we're going to jump on into a full-on tier list. This is a tier list based off of tops for TCG events, whether it's regionals or Euros. Decks that have been made publicly available, and not just deck lists but the deck names that we have been tracking. You can watch our video coming up also this week for our midweek meta update, where we show the total number of tops, wins compared to last week, and go on from there. Today, however, we are going to do our tier list, and what the tiers are here. Essentially, tier 1, for tier 1, that's like 10 to 64% of top cut breakdown. Tier 1.5 being 5 to 9.9%. Tier 2, 2 to 4.9%, and rogue decks are decks with less than 2% representation. I did do a tiny bump up for each win that decks have, because if you win an event, it does mean your deck is probably a little bit better. So keeping that in mind, this is a non-subjective tier list, completely based off of how the decks are performing, and as such, the only decks we're going to mention today are decks that have topped TCG events over in formats for the last 3 weeks now. Again, if your deck is not on here, I'm sorry, but that just means it has not topped a regional or higher level event. First deck up, we have Despia. They're coming in as a strong tier 2 deck. They're not quite what they used to be, and people are just playing other decks. Dragon Link, however, they're also tier 2. I've seen some people say that Dragon Link's like right up there with the best of them, and I don't necessarily disagree with the deck being that good, but based on how it's performing, it is a tier 2 deck, a little bit ahead of Despia. Drytron kind of right there, but a little bit further behind. Another combo heavy deck that certain people just really like to continue playing. It's just not the best deck of the format. Eldlich, however, 1.5. Not quite up to tier 1 yet, but they're actually pretty close to it. A few of the 1.5 decks are like just below that threshold, but especially if you track our midweek meta updates, like, you'll see why there's a pretty good distinction between tier 1 and tier 1.5. Exosisters have won an event already, and they seem to be a pretty strong, almost anti-meta deck, if you will. They have a good, I believe people are saying they had like good spright and tearlaments matchups. However, they're just not really translating, because there's another deck that's just doing better against those top few. Floanderies 1.5. They have, with one regional win and a handful of tops, they have the 5th most tops. So that, coupled up with the win, does bring them to that 1.5 status. Adagnister, well, they topped an event, guys, so that makes them rogue. Marincess, they topped the YCS right before this format, so where do they end up? Unfortunately, that does not qualify them here. They do have a regional win, but just 2 tops leaves them in that under 2% category. Mathmech. This is the deck that, how I mentioned, like Exosisters, there's a deck that just seems to be handling the current meta really well. That is absolutely this deck. Circular is insane for this deck, being able to send for cost to basically allow them to keep extending. It gets them easy access to the trap as well. So this card is just really, really strong. Mystic Mine deck, right? Like, Mystic Mine is everywhere. This card needs to be banned. This is actually representing like Mystic Mine Burn, which does have a top. However, Mystic Mine being played in decks would be probably tier 1, borderline tier 0 at this point, because so many people are playing the card. Punk. Where does Punk end up? They're going to be pretty much right behind Dragon Link, right near the top of tier 2. They do have more tops than Dragon Link does, but they have not won an event, whereas Dragon Link has. So Punk comes in right behind Dragon Link in that tier 2 status. Now moving on, we have Rikka. They just won Euros. Where does it put them at? Well, they actually did more than just win Euros. They had at least 3 tops that we know of right now, or 4 tops in Euros that we know of right now. And they also had a handful of other tops too. They come in right behind Punk as a tier 2 deck. I'm just saying, guys, like I said over a month ago, watch out for this deck. I'm putting them at tier 2. Call it a hunch. And here we are over a month later. They just won Euros. They have the tops to back it up. They're a tier 2 deck. Certain people did not agree with me back then. Well, hate to say I told you so, but I actually really like to say I told you so. And moving forward, that brings us on to Salamandrate. Yep, the deck is still around. However, it's going to fall into our rogue strategy. I'll put it right behind Exosister, ahead of Mystic Mind Burn, and leave them right there. Our first tier 1 deck, Spright, like no surprise, they've been taking up, as of our last meta update, 40% of top cut. Like, that's a huge percentage, and that's going to catapult them right up to that tier 1 status. Sky Striker, the deck that just will not go away. It does fall to Rogue, however. It is starting to slip down. People are playing it because it's Sky Striker, because they always will. But the deck is definitely seeing less success. It is, however, still one of our better rogue strategies. I guess Marincess did win an event, so we will put it ahead of Sky Striker. Ray is Bay, but Ray not today. Swordsoul, I promise you won't have to listen to any more stuff like that. Right behind Rikka, they have the same amount of tops, and they have that win. So why Rikka ahead of them? I think Rikka's just better in this current meta. I think head-to-head Swordsoul is probably the better deck, but in this current meta, I would take Rikka over Swordsoul. Tearlaments, they're catching up pretty quick. Like, you're gonna want to see that video tomorrow, because the gap between Spright and Tearlaments last week was like 41% to 10% of tops. Now it's a lot different. You're gonna want to see this. A lot of things are getting shaken up. Again, that video should be up tomorrow or the following day. Tri Brigade, just like Marincess, same amount of tops. They gotta win. However, I'm gonna put them right behind Marincess, ahead of Sky Striker. Virtual World, it's another deck with just 1 top, so we get to talk about them. They're a decent rogue deck. Shen Shen being the macrocosmos, pretty good. Water being our like Mermail water engine mashup hand loop deck. Topped an event right away in the beginning of the format. Hasn't done anything since. We still get to mention it because of that. It's going to be our weakest rogue deck on this chart today. And then finally, one more deck. It just got top 4 at Euros, so we gotta mention it. It's a deck that I personally absolutely hate playing against, and I'm gonna actually sneak them up here. I think that they're gonna be, no one's gonna play the deck still. We've seen them top an event and pop up here and there before, and it seems like no one still wants to play it. Altergeist, we're going to put them in our rogue strategy. However, I will have them right above Exosister. Let us know down below what you guys think. Again, this tier list is based off of results. This isn't what, TSP says this is this deck's doing this. No, this is just results. I'm just here to tell you guys the results. This is what it is, and this is how our format looks. Let me know down below what you're most surprised about. We kind of asked on our Discord too, and so far mathmech is the popular answer for what are you surprised about most. I want to know down below what everyone else is most surprised about, and until next time, guys, take care.